Okay, guys. So welcome back, and this time around, it's all about the X-Men. Those merry mutants that we all love. But so let's start it off, shall we? Now, first and foremost, we all know that there's a new X event. Usually, my problem with the X-Men is that X-Men and Daredevil mostly, they're almost like they're almost their own universe. Like when there's a major event going on, they're not to be seen. The X-Men haven't been involved in a major Marvel event since, I guess, House of M. I mean, sure, they have their little tie-ins. Excuse me. Sure, they have their little tie-ins to an event, you know, like a Secret Invasion, X-Men Secret Invasion. But they're never, like, involved in the main story. Except for, I guess you can say, Wolverine. But I don't think Wolverine's even in Siege, if I'm not mistaken. So we got our own X event, Second Coming. Now, what does this mean, really? Does this mean the second coming of the mutant population? Or could this mean another M Day? Now, if you remember correctly, guys, after House of M, when Emma said no more mutants, those who were not involved in I guess Doctor Strange, I think Doctor Strange's mystic bubble, I believe, and so forth, most of the mutants lost their population. There were mutants all over the Marvel Universe. Like, I think they almost outpopulated normal humans. There wasn't a day that went by in the Marvel Universe where a baby was born a mutant. Excuse me. Right? And then that millions of mutants became a mere 198. And most of those mutants were X-Men. We saw some mutants die. Blob, he has so much excess skin. He caught cancer, and I really felt for Blob. Jubilee lost her power. She nearly died, but she's still around, but just without her powers. Magneto lost his powers after M Day, but got him back because of the High Evolutioner. Okay. But the Second Coming now, after, I guess, the Messiah complex, the first mutant born since M was Hope. Now, Hope Summers grew up in the future with our residential future mutant Cable. And now they're back. And Hope is about 13 now. She's a little older. The artists don't draw her like she's 13, but yeah, she's supposed to be 13. And Hope is supposed to be, now, is she the Messiah, or is she the bringer of death of all mutants? But if you've been reading Second Coming so far, the first 2 chapters are out. Little slow, in my eyes. But I continue to read it just to see how this is going to end. But things are starting to come to fruition now. You know, things are starting to come into the light. And one particular thing now is the existence of, you can say, the special ops, the black ops team of the X-Men, X-Force, the team Wolverine leads, the team of killers. X-Men don't kill, right? And we see that now some of the X-Men are starting to realize that, you know, some of them are not always coming back the way all Mary, like, for example, Emma said one time to Scott, how come every time Logan and Warren come back from God knows wherever they are, wherever they go, they're like in a foul mood? She tried to read his mind, and as far as I can care less about Emma. I wish she'd go back to being a villain, but that's how I feel. I feel that a lot of the X-Men villains are starting to become good. If you take a look, Juggernaut, I gave Juggernaut a chance because he did his time in jail. He served his time. He joined X-Men, then he went to Excalibur, but then Cyttorak, who gives him his powers, they started taking his Juggernaut powers away. So, because he was being good, and Juggernaut, power hungry as he is, won his full Juggernaut powers back and reverted back to his old self. Mystique was part of the X-Men. I hated it. Sabretooth, part of the X-Men. What the hell? And as far as I'm concerned, Emma ain't no different than any of the guys I just said. She has no business on that team. But the only thing she's doing is, you know, Cyclops is banging her, so. And as far as I'm concerned, I think Cyclops is just whipped. But, anyway. Anyway, back to the subject at hand. Kurt is now the newest member of the X-Men to find out about the X-Force, where he saw a certain member with claws kill somebody. And he questions now Cyclops' leadership. And that's the main reason why Beast left the team. Because of he can't agree with Cyclops' leadership right now. Especially letting Magneto be part of the X-Men or so. As far as I'm concerned, he has his own agenda. What he did, okay, bringing Kitty back to Earth and everything, is just try to get more favors in with the X-Men, so he can use, as my book, that's my opinion. But now, the real thing also, and that's just a little take on how I feel about the Second Coming. Slow but steady, and you know, just not really feeling it too much right now. But what I really wanted to talk about, and Zip, he can back me up on this, is because he was the first one I told this to. Excuse me. Is that Second Coming, I told him an X-Men is gonna die. As you can see right there, Second Coming, come X-Force 26. It's 26th issue of X-Force, which comes out April 28th, 2010. As you can see, to save the world, one of these X-Men will die. Now, there's the question. Now, first of all, if you're an X-Men fan like I am, the X-Men and death go hand in hand. You know what I'm saying? They're almost like bosom buddies. You know, Death and the X-Men are so tightly intertwined with each other. It's almost like, oh, an X-Men's gonna die. Okay. You know, we've seen some X-Men die before. You know, they come back. You know, what does it matter? You know, it's never really shocking sometimes. maybe at first, but we all know, it's gonna come back. Look, for example, Messiah Complex. Bishop shot Professor Xavier. Now at that point, I was like, whoa, could this mean the death of Professor Xavier? But what happened? He's back. So as you can see this, let's talk a little bit about this, shall we?